Global Gridlock Report, the Taliban's war on Afghanistan's opium fields, a fragile battle for control in the war-torn landscapes of Afghanistan. A new conflict is brewing, one that intertwines economics, governance, and the global drug trade. The latest report from the International Crisis Group outlines the Taliban's aggressive stance against opium cultivation, a move that has left the country's farmers and international observers grappling with the ramifications. Before we proceed, please like, comment and subscribe to help us with the YouTube algorithm. Opium, Afghanistan's lifeblood. Afghanistan has long been the world's largest producer of opium, accounting for approximately 85% of the global supply. Opium poppy cultivation has served as a significant source of income for thousands of Afghan families, especially in rural areas where alternative livelihoods are scarce. For decades, it has provided sustenance amidst conflict, instability, and poverty. But with the Taliban's recent ascension to power, the dynamic has shifted dramatically. The Taliban's anti-drug campaign in April 2022, the Taliban announced a sweeping ban on opium cultivation and the production of other narcotics. This decree, according to the International Crisis Group, represents one of the group's most ambitious attempts to exert control over Afghanistan's lucrative drug trade. Despite their historical role in taxing and profiting from opium production, the Taliban's decision appears to be driven by a combination of ideological commitment, internal factional politics, and a desire to gain international legitimacy. The Taliban's campaign has led to a drastic reduction in opium cultivation in some regions, with satellite imagery and local reports confirming that farmers have begun destroying their poppy crops. Enforcement, however, remains inconsistent. In some areas, Taliban authorities have resorted to brutal tactics, including the imprisonment and beating of farmers who defy the ban. But in others, enforcement has been lax, with cultivation continuing as usual. The socio-economic fallout, the impact of the ban on rural communities has been devastating. Many farmers, already struggling to survive amidst Afghanistan's crumbling economy, now face financial ruin. The opium trade has historically provided a safety net for these communities, funding everything from food to basic healthcare. With this lifeline cut off, local economies are collapsing, and indebted farmers find themselves at the mercy of moneylenders and local power brokers. The Taliban's ban is also affecting the broader Afghan economy. Opium exports have traditionally been one of Afghanistan's largest sources of hard currency. Without this revenue, the country's already fragile financial system is under immense pressure. This economic destabilization could exacerbate the humanitarian crisis in Afghanistan, pushing more families into poverty and increasing the likelihood of mass migration. A complex relationship with the global drug trade. The Taliban's stance on opium production is complicated by its deep entanglement with the global drug trade. During their insurgency years, the group derived a significant portion of its revenue from taxing the drug trade, and there are questions about how long they can sustain their anti-drug campaign without facing backlash from their own ranks. Analysts suggest that while the Taliban's efforts are genuine to an extent, they may also be strategic, aimed at winning favor with the international community. By curtailing opium production, the Taliban could seek to position themselves as responsible rulers, worthy of international recognition and support. However, the credibility of these efforts is undercut by reports of continued drug trafficking and the involvement of some Taliban factions in the narcotics trade. Global implications and policy dilemmas. The Taliban's anti-drug campaign presents a dilemma for international policymakers. While the reduction in opium production is a positive development in the fight against global narcotics trafficking, it comes at a steep cost for the Afghan people. The international community is now faced with the challenge of balancing counter-narcotics objectives with humanitarian considerations. Support for alternative livelihoods is crucial, but it is unclear how such programs can be implemented effectively under Taliban rule. The international community's options are limited, given the political isolation of the Taliban regime and the reluctance of donors to engage directly with a government that continues to violate human rights and restrict freedoms. Future prospects. The future of Afghanistan's opium fields remains uncertain. The Taliban's crackdown may lead to short-term reductions in production, but unless alternative livelihoods are provided, the ban is unlikely to hold in the long run. Farmers may return to opium cultivation out of sheer desperation, particularly if enforcement wanes or internal Taliban divisions weaken the resolve to maintain the ban. Moreover, if the ban does hold, it could lead to a shift in global narcotics supply chains. Other regions, such as Southeast Asia's Golden Triangle, could see a new PTICK in production as traffickers seek new sources to replace Afghan opium. Conclusion: the Taliban's war on Afghanistan's opium fields is a high-stakes gamble that could reshape the country's social and economic fabric. While the crackdown has led to temporary reductions in cultivation, the long-term success of the campaign hinges on the Taliban's ability to provide viable alternatives for farmers and their capacity to maintain internal cohesion. For now, Afghanistan's opium fields remain a battleground, one that encapsulates the broader struggles facing the country in this new era of Taliban rule. For more in-depth coverage and updates, stay tuned to Global Gridlock as we continue to analyze and report on the evolving situation in Afghanistan and its impact on the global stage.